Hi. This week we're talking about transparency and openness in government with Peter J. Rudy, editor of Oklahoma Watchdog. Many of you are familiar with Peter for using the social media platforms of Twitter and Facebook to bring openness to the government, the legislative process, we should say, this year, both in committee hearings and then actual full chamber votes. Peter, you've also been spending quite a bit of time since session following a lot of agencies and going to their meetings, and found some interesting stuff out in the past 2 weeks.
I certainly have. For instance, earlier this week, the Human Services Commission, which oversees DHS, had a meeting and may have violated the open meetings law in Oklahoma when they had that meeting.
How did that happen? What
happened? Towards the end of the meeting, they went into a closed session, executive session they call it, where they discussed things like pending legal cases, things that they can refrain the public from seeing at a certain time. They went into a separate room to discuss that, and then everybody left, everyone else who was attending the meeting. I stayed there, however, and when they came out of the closed session, what they're supposed to do is reconvene an open session, mention if they talked about anything, made any decisions during the closed session.
Get it in the minutes, basically.
Right. And then adjourn. But what they did was just left. And unfortunately that is the way I see it, and the way others who are more expert in Open Meetings Act see it, is as a violation of law.
And of course, for taxpayers, this is concerning because we're talking about DHS. There are hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars that are going annually to that agency and to those services, and if we're not following these procedures that are put in place to protect taxpayers and provide openness to government, what else is happening? What else could be happening? And Peter's being rather modest. We should point out that he was not the only media present, but he was the only media that stuck around through the entire meeting, and so thus getting the breaking news that we may have an Open Meetings Act violation here with the state of Oklahoma. Peter, let's also jump back maybe a week earlier. You were also the first to break some news about the Oklahoma Healthcare Authority.
That's right. The Healthcare Authority met. They oversee the state's Medicaid system, and they decided earlier in the session they were lobbying for and got a hospital provider tax.
Right.
The point being that things are so bad with the Medicaid system that we need this influx of money, and lawmakers went along with that and voted for it. Then it turns out at the Healthcare Authority meeting, there's apparently enough money laying around to give Director Mike Fogarty a raise from $134,000 roughly to $152,000. So he's actually making more than Governor Mary Fallin is.
A $20,000 just about raise in 1 year, and then if I remember correctly, there was also a $20,000 bonus, an incentive that was added on top of that.
Right, for meeting certain benchmarks over the last 3 years, and they also voted that if he meets those benchmarks this year, he'll get another $20,000 bonus.
So as we're hearing that state government is strapped for resources, obviously bureaucrats are not strapped enough to not be able to give themselves raises, or at least for boards that have no oversight, that the accountability of which those who are elected by the people don't have oversight over these boards and these agencies. This is one of the areas where Oklahoma, correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, has one of the weaker executive structures in forms of state government.
That's right. These boards and commissions, they're all appointed by governors, and mostly governors. Occasionally there's a Senate President Pro Tem, or the Speaker will appoint someone. And the way it's done, for instance, with the Human Services Commission, there are, I believe, 7 members, and they serve a 7-year term, so the governor only gets to replace 1 per year. Which means Mary Fallin will be in a second term, if she ever got one, before it's a majority of her appointments on that board.
As you can see, Peter J. Rudy is a true gem from an investigative reporting standpoint here in Oklahoma. What many would say in Oklahoma is our Andrew Breitbart, that is really uncovering a lot of what's going on at the state legislative level and within our state government. Peter, of course, we mentioned editor of Oklahoma Watchdog. Where can our viewers get this information and follow your reporting?
The website is oklahoma.watchdog.org, and you can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter. It's facebook.com and twitter.com/watchdogok.
Thank you for your great work, Peter. We look forward to talking to you soon. And thank you all for your continued support of OCPA on behalf of the Board of Trustees and the staff here, thank you for your continued commitment to freedom, free markets, and limited government. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you again next week.